Today, I'm making something simple, quick, and actually perfect if you're after a little dessert on the carnivore diet. Cheesecake bites. No crust, no sugar, nothing fancy, just 4 ingredients and an air fryer. If you got 10 minutes to prep and a little patience to chill them after, you can have these ready the same day. So, ingredients. First up, 200 grams of full-fat cream cheese. Don't use the light stuff here. It won't set the same, and you'll just end up sad. Then, 1 egg. Now, if you're going for a denser, richer bite, you can use just the yolk. But I'm using the whole thing today because I want that bit of extra lift. And about 30 grams of butter, sprinkled with just a little pinch of salt. Not a mountain of salt, just enough to make the flavor pop. The butter was straight from the fridge, so it was solid. I use my go-to method, the warm water glass trick. You boil some water, pour it into a glass, let the glass heat up for a minute, then tip the water out and place it upside down over the butter. A couple of minutes later, it's soft enough to blend easily without turning into an oily mess. This is honestly the easiest way to soften butter when you don't feel like waiting an hour. Next, I pulled out 6 silicone cupcake molds. They fit in my air fryer basket pretty snugly. Maybe a little too snugly, but I figured I'm going to risk it. You're technically supposed to give them a bit of breathing room, so the air can circulate properly. But let's be honest, sometimes you just want to get it all done in one batch. Normally, I use a big silicone liner in the basket. It's a nice bit of insurance in case something tips over or spills, and it makes cleanup a lot easier. But I thought, maybe I'll skip it this time. Maybe I'll squeeze out a little more space. Turns out, nope. It looked exactly the same. So back in went the liner. Then it was butter time again. I took a small chunk and greased each mold one by one. This is the kind of a step you don't want to rush. It's not exciting, but it's the difference between the cheesecakes popping out perfectly or tearing in half when you try to unmold them. I made sure to get into the corners and all along the sides. And a couple of minutes later, I had 6 neatly greased molds ready to go. With that done, the air fryer setup was sorted, and it was time to get the batter mixed. I grabbed a small bowl and dropped in all the cream cheese, minus what stayed stuck to the fork I was using, which I obviously ate. Waste not, want not. Then the egg went in, and finally the butter, now perfectly soft from the warm glass trick. Normally, I would go for my little blender or whisk to make this faster and smoother. But my NutriBullet was sitting there completely uncharged, and honestly, I didn't have the energy to deal with it. So I stuck with a fork. Not glamorous, but it works. Here's the thing though, with a fork, you're in it for the long haul. You've got to keep pressing and mixing until every last chunk of cream cheese is gone. And depending on how soft your butter was, that can take a while. It's one of those jobs where you just keep going, scrape the sides, keep going again, all while wondering why you didn't just charge the blender last night. Eventually, though, it turns into this smooth, pale mixture that's ready to go. No lumps, no streaks, just a nice, creamy batter. At this point, you could taste test if you want. It's basically just sweetless cheesecake filling. I spooned the batter into each cupcake mold. Just under 2 tablespoons per mold. Didn't bother smoothing them perfectly. They settle out fine in the air fryer. A little unevenness just adds character, right? With that done, I slid the basket into the air fryer, set it to 160 degrees Celsius for 13 minutes, and let it do its thing. Once the basket was in, the best part began. Doing absolutely nothing while the air fryer took over. Now, depending on your air fryer, these might be ready a minute earlier or later, so I like to keep an eye on them toward the end. What you're looking for is a set top with just the slightest jiggle in the middle. That's how you know that they are going to be creamy inside once they cool. Overcook them and they'll still be edible, but they are going to lose that soft cheesecake texture and start edging into scrambled egg territory. When the timer beeped, I opened it up and they looked perfect. Lightly puffed, just set, but instead of pulling them out right away, I let them sit in the warm air fryer basket for a few minutes. That little extra rest helps them firm up without overbaking. After that, I move them onto a plate, molds still on, and let them cool on the counter for about 10 minutes. Now, technically, the right thing to do here is let them fully cool. Then pop them in the fridge for at least 2 to 3 hours so they set completely. And if you have the patience for that, do it. They're much better cold. But it was late, and I was impatient, so I decided to leave most of them for later and just try one right now. The rest went into the fridge for the next day, when they are going to be at their best. The next morning, I opened the fridge to find 5 perfectly chilled cheesecake bites staring back at me. They were nice and firm now. No wobble, no softness, just the perfect little bite-sized cheesecakes. My plan was to stack them into a neat little pyramid for the thumbnail, which in my head looked amazing. In reality, well, I forgot that a perfect pyramid needs a specific number of pieces, and 5 doesn't quite cut it. Let's just say the geometry wasn't working in my favor. I played around with a few different setups until I found something that worked. Then it was time for the fun part, the taste test. The texture was smooth, rich, and creamy. With that classic cheesecake tang, even without any sweetener. The salt from the butter came through just enough to balance it out. Honestly, they are great straight from the fridge, but if you're packing them to go, they are going to hold their shape fine for a few hours. So that's it. Carnivore Cheesecake Bites, made in the air fryer with just 4 ingredients and about 15 minutes of hands-on time. They are simple, they store well, and they are perfect if you want something a little different. If you try them, let me know how they turned out for you. And if you got your own spin on a carnivore dessert, drop it in the comments. I'm always looking for new ideas to test out. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll meet you here next time on Meet Carnivore.